Hello and welcome to the premiere episode of Focus on HR, your internet video source for news and information on human resources. I'm your host, Kathleen Koch. A lawsuit is not the kind of gift that anyone wants to get at this time of year, but that's exactly what some employers will receive, and from their shortest tenured workers. Many businesses hire short-term workers to help with the holiday crunch, but some employers forget to treat seasonal workers the same as their long-tenured staff, especially when it comes to wages and hours. To avoid potential legal problems, experts say train your managers so they follow standard overtime rules for all workers, including those who will disappear when the holiday sales end. It's also a good idea to share your policies with seasonal workers by having them read and sign your employee handbook. You might want to point out the sections of the handbook that don't apply to them, such as vacation time. It's another way to reduce confusion and the chances of a legal claim that could last longer than the season's colder weather. Another legal landmine might happen when folks are at their merriest this season. Many businesses throw office parties and invite their employees to let their hair down a little. Of course, there's always the risk that some employees will let their hair down a little too much. What if HR professionals see questionable behavior at an office party and no one complains or seems offended? Attorney Jonathan Siegel, a longtime contributor to HR Magazine's Legal Trends column, says ignoring inappropriate behavior is no way for HR to behave.
The same rules that would apply if you were at work apply at the holiday party. You may think you're there to have fun, but there's no fun in the function for the HR professional because you're always at work to some degree. You see it, you do nothing, it's as if you're condoning it. Best thing to do is, as soon as possible, call aside the person who you have witnessed engaging in the inappropriate behavior, make clear to her or him the behavior is inappropriate and needs to stop. If the person has had too much to drink, which is often the case, send them home in a cab, remove them from the situation. Sometimes I hear people in HR say, is there ever a time when I'm not acting in my capacity as an HR professional? And I think the answer is yes, when you retire from HR.
Siegel adds that employers are generally liable when they know or should have known about inappropriate behavior. And it can be tough to argue you didn't know about something that happened in a public place filled with your staffers. On the national labor front, there will be fewer new hires this December and more jobs will be cut in the manufacturing and services sectors compared to a year ago. That prediction comes from the latest Line report, a poll of HR leaders that offers a leading indicator of national employment. For employers looking to hire staff in the manufacturing and services sectors, word of a growing labor pool might sound like good news, easier recruiting and lower salaries, but that's not necessarily the case. Jennifer SHRM, SHRM's manager of workplace trends and forecasting, had this to say about the research.
Our monthly indicator for new hire compensation has been increasing for the past 14 months for both private services and the manufacturing sector. What that means is that even though most organizations are keeping their new hire compensation rates relatively flat, overall there is a small net increase that has been ongoing for over a year now. And probably this is due somewhat to making up for lost ground because new hire compensation actually went down during the recession. But it also is probably due somewhat to recruiting difficulty for certain jobs, probably high-level, high-skilled, very in-demand jobs.
To see the latest Line report, visit SHRM's website on the first of each month. And for a look at factors that are slowing job growth, see our special segment later in this program featuring interviews with 3 prominent HR leaders. Finally, believe it or not, a professor at Wharton wants you to rethink your latest flubs. Quote, most mistakes contain a silver lining, but few organizations manage to turn that silver lining into gold, says Paul Shoemaker, research director at Wharton's Mack Center for Technological Innovation. Shoemaker believes mistakes are, quote, corporate assets the companies should mine. Quote, instead of hiding mistakes and punishing people, he says, let's extract the hidden lesson. Shoemaker's book, Brilliant Mistakes, offers several steps for doing just that. Those steps include overcoming the shame of an error, separating the things you controlled, such as your decisions, from the outcome which you may not have been able to control, and designing an environment where lessons can be learned from errors. Shoemaker even suggests creating the latitude for allowing mistakes. He says doing so can open up development in unexpected ways. If one of your mistakes turned into a golden learning opportunity, now is your chance to show the world how much wiser you've become. Wharton Digital Press, the publisher of Brilliant Mistakes, is looking for gaffes that have turned into gold. Visit our webpage at shrm.org/video/focusonhr for a link to the contest and for additional information on many of the stories we've covered. The submission deadline for the Brilliant Mistakes contest is January 15th. Missing it probably won't count as a brilliant mistake. SHRM recently announced the 2011 winner of the coveted Michael R. Losey HR Research Award. It's an honor given to academics whose research contributes significantly to the human resources profession. This year's winner is Sarah Rines, a professor at the University of Iowa's Tippie College of Business. Rines received the award in Chicago at SHRM's Strategy Conference. We caught up with her in the Windy City.
Of all my accomplishments, I guess I would have to say that this Losey Award is the thing I'm most proud of. I felt like an Academy Award winner, and the first thing I thought about was wanting to make sure that I thanked everybody. Whenever you have a fruitful career, there are a lot of people involved in helping that to happen.
I've known Sarah Rines since she was a doctoral student. She studied at the University of Wisconsin under luminaries. Her primary mentor is Dr. Herb Heinemann, who is a previous recipient of the Losey Award. She's famous for her emphasis on eliminating the science practitioner gap. It makes her crazy, it makes me crazy, I think it makes all the Losey recipients crazy, that so much is accomplished in science and never gets translated into practice.
I do hear sometimes from people who apply my research or who will call me in the office or email me in the office and ask an opinion and then let me know how it turned out when they applied it, and that's probably the most exciting thing for a researcher.
She's the previous editor of the prestigious Academy of Management Journal, and she was constantly urging authors to include a section in their articles as to what they were writing and what they were finding was going to benefit HR managers.
I decided to go and get a master's degree in human resource management, and my original intention was to become an HR manager, not a professor. I think it's very, very important that I'm motivated by the issues and feel values that are consistent with the discipline.
The Losey Award is, in essence, the Nobel Prize for us behavioral scientists. It states to the world that what we've done over a lifetime of research has made a difference to the practice of human resource management.
Everybody wants to have some sort of impact on the world, I think, however small, and this is recognition that at least some people who practice human resources have found the research interesting and useful, and so that just takes it to a little bit different level for me.
Rines plans to spend the $50,000 prize money on funding research projects and making charitable donations to support HR education and the development of job search skills for the unemployed. What is holding up job growth in this country? In our feature segment, 3 top business leaders voiced their opinions on the factors that are slowing job creation.
I think what the government and the state can do is back off on any additional regulatory kinds of compliance rules that prevent businesses from wanting to hire another employee. So I think that you almost got to put a freeze on new regulations, and then while you've got a freeze on new regulations, go back and look at some of the crazy ones that are there now that prevent employers from wanting to hire new employees.
So when I think about challenges we face in terms of expansion, a great case of it is capital and access to capital. So here you have banks sitting on more money than they've ever sat on before, and we have entrepreneurs, business people who want to be franchise owner operators, and it's very difficult for them to get capital to open restaurants. And that constrains the growth of the business. That constrains employment. If you flip the coin around and you ask the question about what employers can be doing to spur job growth, it's really about being smart. So it's not like the economy is booming right now and you can take your organization in several directions and it's okay if some of those directions fail. So resources are tight, they're much more constrained. Organizations need to be very smart about where they're investing and how they're investing, which allows them to be successful and to grow faster, especially in a tough economic time.
I think from an HR perspective, you have to question whether or not we've done our job in our organizations, that we've been able to provide the tools and information to our decision makers about who we're going to hire and how many we're going to hire and all of that, so that they know that hiring people creates value. So it's not just hiring people to hire people. That's not the way to run a business. It may be a way to run other things, but not a business. We have a business plan process for jobs, whether it's a replacement or new, and we ask people to give us information about what kind of value this job is going to produce. So whether it's hitting the customer or whether it's working with vendors or whether it's working in terms of compliance or any of the things, any of the other functions, financial area, that we have in the organization. I really think that HR needs to be seen as the facilitator of value creation through the hiring of key talent in the organization. And if you're not, then you're just part of a bureaucratic process that has paperwork and you slow things down.
And that's our premiere show. Starting in January, look for a new episode of Focus on HR every 2 weeks. I'm Kathleen Koch. Thanks for joining us.